Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. All right, so today we're going to be drafting this lovely kaftan. All right, so let's jump right into the video. Now I have a detailed video on how to draft a basic kaftan pattern. All right, I'll leave the link in the description box. Okay, so for this video we're going to be drafting, and it's going to be a full length. Okay, so unlike the picture, we're making this one a full length. So I have drafted the back and the front pattern. Now this is the back. All right, so the neckline for the back, neck width of 3.25 and neck depth of 1.5. Now I have also added all my sewing allowances. Okay, I have my half inch on the neckline and all my side seam allowances fully added. Okay, and that's it for the back. Now let's focus on the front. All right, so I have the pattern fully drafted. Okay, so we have the chest line, waistline, hip line, and the hem. Okay, now the dress length is 58, and I also added my 2 inches hemming allowance to this. Okay, so now let's jump right into the alteration. Okay, so we're starting with the hem. All right, so when you draft yours from the hemline, you need to go up by 1 inch. Okay, now let's move over to the neckline. So the neck width that we're working with is 3.25. okay, and the neck depth is 3.5. all right, so I'll take that again. We're marking a neck width of 3.25 and my neck depth for the front is 3.5. all right, so I'll come in with my curve ruler and I'll connect this. Okay, I'll also highlight it for us to see it better. All right, and here we have it. My neckline for the front is ready. 3.25 neck width by 3.5 neck depth. All right, so now from the shoulder tip, I will come inwards by 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'll make a mark there. Now what I have left is 4.5. So from the 1.5, we need to come down to her bust point. Now her bust point is 11 inches. Okay, so from the starting point, I'll make a mark on the 11 inches. So we need to connect from the 1.5 inches we came in from the shoulder slope to the to her bust point of 11 inches. All right, now the easiest way to do this is to try and form a block. All right, which I have done. Now I'll try and use my curve ruler to connect this. Okay, remember we're connecting from the 1.5 inches we came in on the shoulder, okay, to her bust length of 11 inches. All right, so this is what I have. Now I'll go ahead and use my marker pen to highlight this curve. Okay, so if you can use your free hand, that's okay. All right, but I used both the curve and my free hand, all of them put together. Okay, so I'll go ahead and highlight this, then we will continue. All right, so here we have it. The curve is done. Now I'll go ahead and highlight the shoulder slope. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to go ahead and add my sewing allowance, okay, around the neckline. But before then, let's label as usual. So we're going to be cutting this area around the neck. Okay, so I'll go ahead and add my half inch around the neckline for joining, okay, for turning. So I'll add that. I'll also add my half inch on the shoulder slope and I'll highlight all of them using my marker pen. right, now the length of the slit is 2 inches, okay, from the style. So I'll just make a mark there. Then when it's time for us to transfer to the fabric, we will take note of this. Now we'll proceed to cut out. All right, and here we have it. We're done with our cutting. Now when we transfer to the fabric, I'll go ahead and add ½ inch, but bear in mind that we have added a ½ inch to the neckline and the shoulder slope. Okay, so we're only adding to the sides. All right, now we're cutting this part on fold. Okay, we're placing it on fold on the fabric. Same thing applies to the lower part of the pattern. All right, so that's the center front and the other side is the side front. Okay, and that's it for the main pattern. Now let's move over to the sleeve. So the style of the sleeve, it has 3 tiers, okay, or you can call it 3 steps. So I drafted a basic sleeve. The length is 18 inches. Okay, now from the sleeve head, I'll go ahead and mark 7 inches. All right, so now I need to get a straight line there. So I'm going to go ahead and place my tape from my elbow line, okay, to the 7 inches that I just marked, just so that I can get a straight line. All right, so I'll come in with my ruler and I'll rule this line across. Okay, so a quick recap: from the sleeve head I came down by 7 inches. Okay, so we'll call this our first step. All right, now the tiers are going to start after this first step. Okay, so I'll go ahead and highlight this line so that we can see it clearly. All right, now we need to measure the rest of the space. Okay, so I'll go ahead and measure from that 7 inches to the hem of the sleeve, and what we have there is 11 inches. Okay, now this 11 inches we need to divide it into 3. All right, so from the hem of the sleeve I'm coming up by 4 inches. Okay, but before I do that, let me go ahead and clean off my initial elbow line. Okay, I had this line marked when I was drafting the basic sleeve. All right, so from the hem of the sleeve I'll go up by 4 inches. Okay, I'll make a mark there and I will connect it using a straight line. All right, then I also go ahead and highlight it. Okay, now we need to go ahead and measure the remaining space that we have. Okay, and what I have there is 7 inches. Remember, it was 11 and we had taken out 4. So 7 inches, I'll go ahead and divide that into 2, and that will give us 3.5 each. Okay, so from the sleeve head we came down by 7 inches. From the hem of the sleeve I came up by 4 inches. So the rest of the space is 7 inches. I divided that into 2 and that gave me 3.5 inches. Okay, so I hope we're clear. Now we need to number these spaces. Okay, so we'll call this our number 2, and that's the number 3. Okay, and the last one is the number 4. Okay, now we need to go ahead and calculate the radius of each of these. Okay, now let's start with number 4. All right, so for this number 4 we're going to be using a 180 degrees flare, okay, or a half circle to get to cut that out. Now to get the radius we need to measure the round measurement, okay, of what we have there. So I'll place my tape. Okay, so I'll place my tape from the folded side and I'll measure everything I have on that line. And what I have there is 7.5 inches. Now multiply by 2 will give us 15. Okay, so to get the radius, we're simply going to divide 15 by 3.14, and that will give us 4.7 inches. So we have a radius of 4.7 inches for number 4. Now to get the length of number 4, okay, the actual length there is 4 inches. Now we're adding 1 inch allowance for hemming. Okay, and that makes it 5 inches, and we're adding half inch for joining to number 3, so that makes it 5.5 inches. So for number 4, we have a radius of 4.7 inches and a length of 5.5 inches for number 4. All right, now let's move over to number 3. So to number 3, we're doing the same thing. I'll go ahead and measure that line, everything I have there, including the 1 inch allowance I had added. So I have 8.25 there, multiplied by 2 will give me 16.5. All right. Now to get the radius, I'll do 16.5 divided by 3.14. Okay. And that will give me 5.25. Okay. So that's the radius for number 3. So 16.5 divided by 3.14 gave me 5.25. Now for the length, we're going to measure that space. All right. So what we have there is 3.5 inches. Remember, we have 7 inches there as our length, and we divided that into 2. So the length of number 3 is 3.5 inches. Now for number 3, we need it to drop a bit to cover number 4. So number 3 will drop by 1 inch extra. Okay. So the actual space there is 3.5 plus the 1 inch that it will use to drop into number 4. That will make it 4.5 inches. Okay. Now we will use 1 inch to hem number 3, so that's 5.5 inches. Okay, and we will use half inch to join it to number 2, so that's 6 inches length for number 3. Okay, so I'll take that again. The actual length of the space of number 3 is 3.5 inches. It will drop by 1 inch into number 4, making it 4.5 inches. We'll use 1 inch to hem it, 5.5, and half inch to join to number 2. That makes it 6 inches. Now let's move to number 2. So the length, what we have there is 9.1. Multiply by 2 will give us 18.2. Now to get the radius of number 2 now, we will do 18.2 inches divided by 3.14. Okay, and that will give us 5.7 inches. Okay, so that's the radius of number 2, which is 5.7 inches. All right, now to get the length of number 2, we will measure the space first, and it's 3.5 inches. So it will also drop into number 3 by 1 inch. So that makes it 4.5 inches. Now we're using 1 inch to hem it. That's 5.5, and half inch to join it to number 1. So that's 6 inches. So we have a radius of 5.7 for number 2, and total length of 6 inches for number 2 as well. Okay, so this is just a quick recap of our radius and our length. Okay, so for number 4, that's what we have. Now this is it for the sleeve. Okay, so this is it for the entire pattern drafting for this beautiful dress. All right, so in my next video, we're going to be transferring this to fabric. Okay, bye.